today we're in Kingswood, which is a beautiful stretch of woodland just in sort of the middle of Kent, a place called Chollock, which is between Ashford and Canterbury and sort of off Wye. Today we're going to, oops, tripped over there, one lesson about looking where you're going. Today we're going to find a place to put a tarp up, so we're going to go through some knots and just trying to find a beautiful beach sort of stretch that I know of. Unfortunately, the car park today that I normally use is blocked up, so I'm going to go for a bit of a wander. On the way I've found this is an earthball mushroom. It's not edible, but let's see if I can show you. These, I suppose, look a little bit like puffballs. They're not, and they're not edible where puffballs are. This is an earthball. Inside, let me see if I can show you. Oh, this one's got a bit goopy. It's got a black layer. It tends to have a whitish layer out the middle, sort of creamy around the outside, and then inside all the black spores. Now this earthball will grow, and then it'll suddenly explode, and all those spores will seep out and produce the next generation of earthballs. This, however, looks like it's got a bit mank, so all those spores that would normally dry and explode have now turned to mush. So that's not good for anything, including the reproduction. We're going to go and have a wander down here. Join me. It is December. It's the 20th today, and it's a bit nippy, a bit cold. We're not quite in the area that I was aiming for, but I think this one will do. Let me show you. Beautiful stretch of beech trees. One way of telling you're in a beech is lots of these kernels here for beech nuts, fully edible. The nuts inside, not necessarily the kernels. Let's do what we plan to do and get a tarp up and show you some knots. Now, before we start tying knots, we're going to learn a couple of basics. This is a hank of rope, and the good thing about that is that the way it's tied, you can keep pulling and pulling extra bits out. Right, the second is an overhand knot. We all know what an overhand knot is, even though we don't know it by name. The overhand knot is simply back on itself and through the loop. That is an overhand knot. Do it one more time. So there's your rope. Okay, that's the working end. This is known as the working end. Okay, so we'll put that round, through and through the loop. Okay, the second one is a loop. Now a loop crosses over. So the loop, can you see? The loop crosses over when you are tying that. Okay, so a loop is crossed over. Okay, the third one is a bite. A bite is uncrossed over, and it just goes through like that. That is a bite. Now, the first knot we're going to learn is the Evenk hitch. Now, the Evenk hitch is a great knot. It's really quick to tie, and also it's quick release. So in the end of your camping experience, the end of the day, in the morning, you can quickly release your whole setup and and be on your way. You don't want to be spending hours trying to get those annoying knots untied. So the Evenk hitch. So you've got the standing end, which is the end, the long end, and you've got the working end. Okay, so standing end and working end. Now I always, because I'm right-handed, for this knot I always put the working end in my right hand and the standing end in my left hand. Now with your left hand, you make a gun. Okay, I'm sure as young people or even adults, when possibly when no one's looking, we've all played Native Americans and cowboys, so we're all used to that. What we do is we lay the standing end there over your thumb. Okay, you wrap the working end around the barrel. Okay, you pull it underneath the standing end, and then we make a bite. Okay, so don't forget, a bite doesn't cross over, a bite just sits like that, and that bite then goes through that loop, okay, you've made, which had the barrel in it, and then it should all just pull tight. There you go, leave the loop there. And what you can do with that loop, if you want to be extra careful, you can get a toggle. A toggle is any stick, and you can pop that through that loop, through the loop, and now you can pull that tight. And so at the end, you just remove the toggle, okay, and release it. So for now, that is your Evenk hitch. And like I said, at the end of the day, you can remove the toggle, pull the working end, and you've released the knot. One more time. So you've got your working end and you've got your standing end. My standing end sits in my left, just over my thumb there. The working end goes round the barrel points away from you, goes under the rope, and you make a bite. That bite then goes through that loop, okay, and then you can pull it tight, and that will hold enough weight. And then if you want, you can get a toggle and pull that, and that will hold nicely. We're quite low down in the tree, so we've got to push that up. I tend to go about head height for my tarp, so let's do that and then move over to the other side. Moved over to the other side now. This is our second tree, which our tarp is going to hang off. All right, and we're going to do it slightly lower down because it's easier for the camera. What we're going to do is we're going to make a trucker's hitch, and that's a nice knot to keep that tight, but also it's equally as quick release. So do you remember those loops and bites I was talking about? So what we do, okay, let's make it clear, this is the working end, okay, the working end. So you need a nice bit of rope, nice bit of cord there. I'm using paracord here. All right, so what you do is you make a loop, and using the working end, okay, leaving yourself lots, and you'll find out why in a minute, lots of space, you need to put a bite in there. So there's your loop, and that is your bite. So you want to put a nice bite in there and pull it tight. Don't pull the working end or it'll all come apart, okay? If you pull the working end, it'll come apart. We're going to wrap this around the tree, and I'm going to show you what to do with this loop on the trucker's hitch. Okay, so after you've made your loop, get the working end and wrap that around the tree. Right, then what we do is we get the working end and pop it through the loop. Now, you can pull that tight and that will keep it tight. What I tend to do is wrap the paracord twice through the loop, and I'll tell you why. The reason being is if you do it once through the loop, that's once, and you let go, the tautness easily goes. So what we're going to do is we're going to wrap it twice through the loop. That kind of creates a bite in that loop, so when I pull it, there you go, it retains some of that tautness. So pull that tight, and then your line is a nice tightness. Now what we need to do is to grab, there you go, a bit of that rope that's come out, a bit of the working end, okay, and then with a little bit more you can create a bite, and that bite then goes through that loop, pull it tight, and that will hold. Once again, you can use just find a bit of stick, there you go, lots of it, it's a wood. You can use a toggle, you can pop that through and pull that tight, and that won't go. So at the end of the day, quite like the Evenk hitch, you can pull your toggle off, you can pull the rope, and that will just go, and that will just disappear. And there is our trucker's hitch, and that is nice and taut. And that's the other end. We go down here. Here is our other end, and that's our Evenk hitch that we did earlier on. Okay, the next thing we're going to do is learn the Prusik knot. For that you need a number of smaller bits of paracord like that, with a knot. Can you see a knot there? Now you can use a simple knot like so, just an overhand knot doubled up there, okay, like that, and that will hold reasonably well. My preference is always a fisherman's knot. So a fisherman's knot is you've got a length and you get one end, okay, and you tie an overhand knot, so that's round and back through on one bit, that just holds it like that, and then get the other end and put an overhand knot again on the other side, okay, just like that, and so you're left with like that, and when you pull it tight you've got the two overhand knots, and they will hold a lot stronger. So we've got 1, 2, 3, 4 of those, and I'll show you what we need to do with those now. So my tarp, some of them got eyelets, mine have got loops on them, okay, and they have loops running all down the side, and also a set running that runs right through the middle as well, and that's here, see, that runs right through the middle. So what we're going to attach is those middle bits to our ridge line. Now a lot of people, or some people, will put that over the top of the ridge line, and that's completely fine, but one thing I found is that if you can Prusik it up, you'll be able to move that to change it as and when it's needed. I'll show you how to do that now. Right, this is our start of our Prusik that we made earlier on. So you've got the two knots. This is a fisherman's knot that I use here, as I showed you, and then you can pull that tight here. So what you do is you hold it a bit like a balloon. So imagine it's a balloon with a knot at the end, and so you've got the knot at the bottom and you've got the balloon at the top. So put that over the rope like so, and then what you need to do is, holding the knot, you need to loop it over the rope once, twice, and that's underneath this loop here, okay, and 3 times, okay. So it's 1, 2, 3 times, and then you can pull that tight. The important thing about this is to keep it as neat as possible. This is a great knot actually. Climbers use it to climb up ropes. So if they'd fallen down a rope, they can make one of these and then use it to climb up. And the reason they use that is because it says as it moves, once it's tight, it won't move up and down the rope, but it will move if you push the knot. So nice and tight, very hard to move left and right, but the knot itself will move if you move the knot. Okay, so they'll put their feet in there, they'll put one at the top, and they'll winch themselves up the rope. So there you go. Right, how do we tie this to the tarp? Well, there's a number of ways. I've seen people undo this knot and tie that on, but like I said, then you've got to mess around the morning untying things. So we go back to our toggle. So what we do is we get the toggle like so, we put that through the loop of the tarp like so, okay, and then back through the loop at the end and get your toggle and put it back through. Okay, so then you can hang the tarp like that, and then when you want in the morning or whenever it is you're taking down camp, remove the toggle, get rid of the rope, take it out of there, and this will easily come off the rope. The tarp ridge line up. So what we're going to do is now going to put the sides up so it turns into a nice little triangle. So what we're going to do is we're going to start with the middle. You always start with the middle with the tarp, not the side, and then you can get the tool and you can get the ends out. So what we'll do is we'll get our cord, and you remember the Evenk hitch that we made right at the beginning. We're going to do one of those, okay, so nice and quickly round the gun, round the back, pull the loop through, and that will keep that nice and tight. When I am tying up a guy rope, I use a Prusik style knot. So what we'll do is it's round the peg this side, and it's on the tarp that side. So what this means, what we can do is we wrap it over, and we need to keep going the same direction. So we go once, twice through the loop, okay, and then we keep going round, but we go round the top of the loop, and then we put another bite in here, okay, another bite in here. Now obviously you're welcome to put a toggle in there as well if you wish, but what that does is that knot enables us to tighten that length up as we go. Sometimes I use that knot also when putting my ridge line up. There you go, there's the two corners. It's going to put the four sides up. That's the middle and the two sides. Now for the final ones. Now it doesn't have to be a peg, it could be like what I'm using on this particular side, which is a heavy log, okay, but the knot remains the same. Keep it going around one side. I'm not going to put a loop in that, I'll just put it straight in. So there is our tarp setup, and if we wish we can put a hammock underneath it. I tend to use a bivvie bag and sleep right on the floor, but obviously depends on your preference. So simple knots, you've got the Evenk hitch, which we put that side, the trucker's hitch we put that side, we use some Prusik knots holding up the tarp at the top, and then we use some Prusik style knots to do the guy ropes, and that is your basic tarp setup. Now it is the 20th of December today, So it's going to get dark pretty soon. It is about, I'll tell you what it is, it's 2:30, and it'll be dark for about 3:30, so I better get this down and pack it away and get myself back to the car.